You're tuned in to Porch Talk with Rev Pat, where raw, real talk rules. So sit back and relax with that delicious cup of coffee or tea or your favorite glass of wine as Rev Pat delivers real, transparent, and raw conversations about all things life. Let's get started.
Welcome to this episode of Porch Talk with Miss Pat, with Rev Pat. Look at me, I'm so excited to have Larry Jorgensen on with me today. I forgot my name, but this is Porch Talk with Rev Pat, and I'm your host. And today I have with me Mr. Larry Jorgensen, and he is an expert on the Coca-Cola Trail. I'm gonna let him tell y'all all about this. He sent me his book and I'm so excited. It's treasure now for me because I'm a Coca-Cola girl. So grab your coffee, grab your tea or a glass of wine, or maybe even Coca-Cola while you listen to this episode, and let's get talking. Mr. Larry, you said throw you the duck. Now, let me tell you, the first thing one of my friends asked me when I told them that I had the book, and they were talking, I said, now, is it true that Coke has a little bit of cocaine in it? And I went, that's just a myth. That is not the truth. I got so adamant. I was defending my Coca-Cola. That's not. And then I read the book and I went, oh, I'm not exactly right about that. So I learned.
Way back a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago. Isn't that amazing that that's how that flavor came about?
Well, and it wasn't really intended like cocaine. The common denominator there is both the Coca-Cola formula originally was from the coca leaf. And yeah, they used the coca leaf to make cocaine, but it's processed totally different than when you're using the leaf to get the ingredient for part of the formula of Coca-Cola. But unfortunately, because it is the coca leaf, in the early years of Coca-Cola, there was a very slight trace of what could be considered cocaine-like flavoring. And if you read the book, you know that Coca-Cola spent a lot of money and a lot of research to make sure that that would never show up again, because they didn't want people to think that it was in fact an addictive drug, that it was a wonderful beverage.
It is. There is nothing, I'm telling you. I was telling somebody, we were talking about branding, and I always use Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola always comes up when somebody's talking to me about branding, and they ask me, well, name one brand that is so easily recognizable to you that no matter, Coca-Cola, Coke, absolutely. And so she kept talking and she was explaining that it wasn't just the branding of Coca-Cola, it's the experience that I attached to the Coca-Cola or the product. She was using product. And I said, wow. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you know what? That's the truth. Because I can drink any other soda. I can have a taste for orange. I can have taste for a strawberry. I can have a taste for an orange and enjoy that soda. Yes, I said soda. All you healthy people, I said soda. But give me an ice cold Coke, nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
Absolutely nothing like an ice cold Coca-Cola, period.
Well, Pat, do you remember when they had the new Coke? Remember that?
Yes.
In the 80s?
Yes.
You know how that happened?
No.
That's an interesting story. About that time, there was this thing called the Pepsi Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you may remember people would be given two little bitty glasses, paper cups. One would have Pepsi, one would have Coke, and they'd sample, just take a little taste, and which one do you like? And a lot of people were picking Pepsi, and Coca-Cola, it was driving them crazy, what's wrong? So they looked at it and they tried it and they said, Pepsi is sweeter. So they reformulated Coca-Cola, the new Coke, and they made it sweeter. Well, now you think about it, Pat. If you're going to drink a glass of something, when you first taste it, the thing that's sweeter, that might be what you prefer with just a little taste. But if you're going to drink the whole glass, you want to go the other way, don't you? You don't want all that sweet. But Coca-Cola actually didn't realize why they were losing the competition. And I've had, in doing the book, I've talked to a lot of people that are involved with selling Coca-Cola, the bottlers, the distributors, and they told me back in those, when that happened, the salesman, the delivery man would be at the store with a order of Coca-Cola, and he said, little old ladies would come up to him and threaten him, say, if you don't bring my Coca-Cola back, I'll never talk to you again.
That would be me. That would be me. I'm like, I don't want any other time. No. There is something about this drink. Now, let me tell you, and I don't know if I got this far in the book, but I was talking to my husband and I said, do you remember, and I know he didn't because it was a girl movie, do you remember in Mommy Dearest where Joan Crawford was in the boardroom at the Coca-Cola plant? Was it Coca-Cola? Is that all made up?
I never saw that, so I don't know. Shame on me. I should know that.
It's crazy because I'm like, did they just throw that in there? Like she married this man that was on the board of Coca-Cola and whatever, and she stormed in the boardroom and was this and that. And I'm like, what? Maybe that might have been why I liked the movie, but and I meant to really Google that and look it up because I'm like, wow, was that even true? Because looking at going back and the way you walk back and you go all the way back with how the formula was created and then how people just love this. I can't even imagine back in that day, people just loving this drink so much that it just blew up like that. Wow.
And originally, as we know, Mr. Pemberton, who invented the formula, he was trying to get some pain relief. He didn't realize that he was creating what would become the world's most popular product. He created he was injured in the Civil War. He battled in the Civil War and he was injured. He came back from the war with an injury that still caused him pain. Well, it so happened he was a pharmacist. So he started, looking through his records and that on things that would help with pain. And he came up with this formula using the cola nut and the coca leaf. And it was it was on a May 8th. May 8th, is called Have a Coca-Cola Day. And it's because May 8th, because on May 8th, Coca-Cola was first served at a drugstore because he thought it was, this is a product should be in drugstores. And it was served at a fountain at a drugstore, a little bit of the syrup and a lot of carbonated water, and you had a glass of Coca-Cola. So that's what they thought. We've created something that, as they say, for medicinal purposes. Yeah. But guess what? It turned out to be a wonderful drink. And the next thing, people are buying it because it tastes good, and it did, and it does. So, but even then, for years, Coca-Cola didn't want to have the drink bottled. They wanted it to be sold, the syrup to be sold at a fountain in a drugstore or at a soda fountain. Yeah. But that's how you would try it. And finally, in the first chapter in the book, Pat, we talk about Mr. Joe Biedenharn. He was in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and he was selling the syrup. He had a little drugstore, and he was selling the syrup. And he got thinking, if I could bottle this, I mean, this is 1895,
Yeah,
Lord, a
yeah.
long time ago. And it wasn't,
Do y'all
and
hear
it,
this 1800s that they're coming up with this?
yeah. And,
Wow.
and in 1895, it was not an easy trip to the drugstore to get a glass of Coca-Cola. So Joe thought, well, if I can put it in bottles, I can take the Coca-Cola to the people in the country. So he started bottling it. He bought a little secondhand bottling machine, a hand operated thing, really, up in St. Louis, brought it to Mississippi, and started bottling Coca-Cola. Well, he bottled the first two cases and he sent them to Mr. Candler, who owned Coca-Cola in Atlanta. And, Mr. Candler sent him back and said, well, it's okay, but, he wasn't really impressed with the
My
idea.
goodness.
And, and Joe bottled Coca-Cola for 5 years. Nobody else was bottling it. But all of a sudden it caught on and away we went.
Man, and we're still drinking it today. My mind, I'm an imaginative type of person, and I really tried to imagine in my head what that looked like back then. And the bottles that I have that I remember, as a kid, that little Coca-Cola bottle, kind of like a greenish tint, kind of heavy, but not too heavy. Just as a matter of fact, such a pretty bottle that people used to say she's got a shape like a Coca-Cola bottle.
Well, that bottle was created because all of a sudden, Coca-Cola got early 1900s, it got pretty popular. And there were other bottlers, there were bottlers making, orange drinks and lemon juice and whatever. Sarsaparilla, that was always a popular one. Well, they would make a drink, another bottler would make a drink, he'd call it a cola. He might call it churro cola, or he might spell it cola with a K, and put it in a bottle. People would go in a grocery store and they'd see a bottle and it said cola on it. So they figure, well, it's Coca-Cola. And it was just confusion, and Coca-Cola knew they were losing sales because of it. So they said, wait a minute. Everybody's bottling whatever bottle they could get their hands on. That's what they're putting the colas in. And so Coca-Cola said, wait a minute, we're going to have a bottle that is only our bottle. We're going to have it patented and no one else can use it.
Wow.
They had a contest. They told the glass bottle makers in the United States, somebody is going to win. Anybody who wants to participate, send in your idea of what the bottle should look like. Well, there were 5 bottle makers that sent in sample bottles. They each made 5 different bottles. And in 1905, there was a meeting in Atlanta where the bottlers came and they looked at what would be their bottle. They had 5 different companies here. And they selected this one particular bottle that we all know, which was being made by a glass company called the Root Glass Company in Terre Haute, Indiana. So the neat part of the story, now you got 5 companies, they each brought 5 bottles to show for the competition. When it was over and they selected the winner, Coca-Cola said all the other bottles must be destroyed. And on the winners, we want to keep one of the winners and we'll put it in the archives, and all the others should be destroyed. Well, what happened? One of them got away. One of the winning bottles, the man who had helped design the bottle, someone that was with him got that bottle, got one of the 5, and was able to sneak it out. Okay, that bottle stayed in that family until about 2 years ago. It was passed on from one generation to another. And about 2 years ago, it came up for sale at an auction, at an estate auction in California. And that bottle, Pat, sold for over $150,000.
Oh my God.
And the reason we know that it was that bottle is because on the bottom, it had the date 1905. Well, Coca-Cola never started using the bottle in production until 1906. So that was the one surviving bottle,
Wow.
and it went for $150,000. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I used to pick up bottles and take them back for 2 cents.
I was about to say, somebody probably mad right about now. My good. Now see, that stuff like that, when it's something like Coca-Cola is a part of my life. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't think of going. I mean, and I have tried Pepsi. Not saying nothing about you Pepsi drinkers, y'all. Our Pepsi drinkers. Nothing will make me go, I'm out of Pepsi and we need to get some in this house now. Coca-Cola. I will fight my grandson, my 14-year-old grandson. Don't you dare drink a Coke. If you see that there's no, if I open up the refrigerator, there's no Coke can in there, I've got a problem. But it brings back memories.
Absolutely.
The first thing, one of the first things in the song popped in my head, a coconut smile. I'd love to buy someone a Coke or something like that. That song, how could you, because of what it represented, and it represented unity. And even at a young age to see that. And I remember that commercial. So I'm sure I'm not the only person. I mean, I know now we're living in an age and time where everybody is super healthy. Yeah, I'll drink grape juice, orange juice, cranberry juice, but there's a Coke gonna be in my house. Really.
You talk about the memories, Pat, you know, Coca-Cola, you go into towns and we write about it in the book. You see the big Coca-Cola murals. These old murals have been painted on buildings. And, you know, there's towns where people have raised thousands and thousands of dollars to restore and to recreate that mural. You know, and I asked one time, when you talk memories, that's what brought it to mind. I asked somebody at one of these towns where they had spent $50,000 to restore a mural. I said, why? They said, because that mural is memories. It's an important part of our town. People love Coca-Cola and they see the sign and they remember, like you, they remember the first time they tried Coca-Cola, or maybe they remember walking by the sign or going to the little bottling plant and watching the bottles go round and be filled, but it's memories. Now, you tell me another company that advertising on the sides of buildings, people are paying money to keep. You know, usually it's get rid of that sign, get it out of here. You know?
Oh, no. No, I can't even imagine somebody taking down a mural that's a Coca-Cola mural. I really can't. And it really, be honest with you, I'm so glad that Coca-Cola has evolved and it tries to evolve with different types of Coca-Cola, cherry Coke, all of that, but did not change from the mainstay. You know what I'm saying? That they stuck with the original. They stuck with I don't even, and I need to correct myself because I just Googled it. I'm sorry, y'all. That's why I had my head down. It was Pepsi. Joan Crawford owned Pepsi, was a part of Pepsi, and she advertised for Pepsi, or had interest in Pepsi, something like that. Because I just looked it up and I remembered the only other Coca-Cola I ever remember anyone in my family drinking was RC Cola. Only other Coke, Royal Crown.
Well,
Only, only other
there's
song.
an
Only
RC
other,
Cola. RC
yeah.
Cola's got an interesting Southern tradition to it. And of course, Coca-Cola started in the South. So there's that people that the old have an RC and a moon pie, right? That's an old Southern thing.
I see.
And I
Animal
understand. And it's tradition. It's wonderful, you know. But when it comes down to the real thing, what do they say? Coca-Cola,
Cola
it's
is
the
the
real.
real thing. It's the real thing. So what made you so interested in learning all of this about Coca-Cola?
You know, it's a strange story. I'm not a Coca-Cola collector. I don't collect the memorabilia, and I'm not what you'd call a fanatic. I like Coca-Cola, but you know, it's not. I don't have to have it. You know, but I do. I enjoy it.
Like me.
I am basically I'm a writer, Pat, and I do some freelance writing. You know, and I had discovered that in Vicksburg, Mississippi, they've restored the building where it was first bottled, and it's a little museum. And not too far away in Monroe, Louisiana, there's another little Coca-Cola museum. And I thought, you know, that's a neat little travel story. So I was going to do a travel story for a travel magazine about these two Coca-Cola museums. They were close enough together, you could see them both in one day. Well, I went to the first museum, took some pictures, talked to some people. I went to the second museum, and I actually talked to some people who were relatives, descendants of the first bottler. And he told me, he said, you know, no one has ever done a book about all the bottlers. The books that have been written are always about Atlanta, Georgia, corporate Coca-Cola. So no one has done what you're looking at. He said it's all over the country. And he started giving me ideas of places I could go. You know, go to Corinth, Mississippi, go to Paducah, Kentucky, wherever. These beautiful places that have Coca-Cola history. I got fascinated by it, and I said, "You're right. It's a story. It's a book." So I did the first book. You know, thinking we'll see what happens. That crazy book has sold over 9,000 copies, and every day, Pat, I get somebody call me up. I want the book, you know, or I'll get a store call me up. We need 20 books or whatever. I got so much interest in it that people would contact me and say, it was a wonderful book, but you forgot about. And they'd tell me the name of a town that I forgot about. Well, I didn't know about it, you know.
Didn't know about it.
So I started a little box. I called it my forgot about box, okay? And when someone would tell me the name of something, I'd put it in that box. That's interesting. Pretty soon I got a big box for forgot abouts. So I did the second book. And the second book is called Return to the Coca-Cola Trail. And it's more of the same thing. It's more places where you can go, where you can see something that has Coca-Cola history, and you can enjoy it. It might be an entertainment center, it might be a little museum, whatever it might be now. But while you're there, the book is going to tell you what it was before, when it was a Coca-Cola bottling plant or whatever it was.
And when is that one coming out? When is the second book coming out?
It's out. It's been out a couple of months now.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Return to the Coca-Cola Trail. Otherwise, we're going to just go ride the trail again.
So look, now I'm in Texas. I'm not that far from Louisiana. And you said Monroe, Louisiana has a museum, a Coca-Cola museum?
Monroe's got one, and Vicksburg, Mississippi.
And you said you can do both in one day. You can do both
You
of those.
bet you can. You bet you can. And I need to get you a copy of the second book, too.
Wow. I want to go.
The second book has got a story in there about Lubbock, Texas. Okay. There's a building in Lubbock, Texas that's now a winery, a beautiful little winery, and it used to be a Coca-Cola bottling plant. There's also a story about Cuero, Texas. And there's an old Coca-Cola bottling plant there that the community wants to make into a museum. Now, on that first book, the cover on that first book,
Yes.
that was the Coca-Cola plant in Monahans, Texas, way down there in Southwest Texas. And there is the chapter in there about Monahans, Texas. So we got a little Texas, and
Baby, let me tell you, if y'all thinking about going down to Lubbock, Texas, you better try to get you a, make sure you wear short sleeves and you have a hat and you get ready for it, because we drove to Lubbock, Texas, and I was like, no, never again. Texas is so huge. That drive from here to Lubbock, never again. No.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I was way back when, many decades ago. I worked in radio at a radio station in South Texas, little bitty town called Raymondville, down around Brownsville and that area.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you what, I fell in love with Texas. I had more fun in Texas.
Look, because you can have fun in Texas in one city and then move somewhere else and nobody even find you. That's it. Because Texas is so huge. Traveling out of Texas is when my husband and I married. He's from Illinois. His mother lives in Iowa. And that was the longest time I'd ever been in a car in my life. And I just kept going, are we still in Texas? And he was still in Texas. Are we still in Texas? We're still in Texas. Are we still in Texas? We're still in Texas. Now, when did we get out of Texas? It'll take you forever to get, but this is I'm native Texan. I love Texas. I don't think I would want to live anywhere else. I don't care as hot as it gets, it's whatever. This is it for me. So I've got to do this. I've got to do the Monroe. I got to figure out how to get down to Monroe, Louisiana, to that museum, and then over to the other one. Now I'll get in the car for that. I don't want nothing else, but I'm getting in the car for that, to go to that museum and just take.
Now, if you in that first book, Pat, if you look at the foreword in there, it's written by Randy Mayo. Randy Mayo is in San Antonio. In fact, I've been to San Antonio and I met with Randy. Randy Mayo is not only a Coca-Cola bottler, he is the great grandson of one of the brothers who were involved in that bottling operation in Vicksburg, Mississippi. He is that family. He is part of that family that started bottling Coca-Cola. And you got him right there in San Antonio.
I read the forward, and across the mind, I would love to pick his brain. I would love to know what it's like to be in that lineage of this. This is legacy. It's legacy. Your family's just part of something that, where is Coke going? Coke is not going anywhere. And then you said, now Coca-Cola kidnapped Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That I had to laugh at, because who doesn't look forward to those Christmas Coca-Cola cans coming out? I don't know anybody. Well, maybe some people that don't, but those are the most beautiful cans ever.
And it's the Coca-Cola artist in the 1920s who gave us the Santa Claus that we all recognize right now. Gave us the happy, jovial Santa Claus, not that grumpy old one that came from overseas or wherever, And it was the Coca-Cola artist. You remember, Pat, about 3 years ago at Christmas time, the U.S. Postal Service came out with 4 Christmas stamps, and each one of them was a different view of Santa Claus. And each one of those was, in fact, one of the Santa Clauses that the Coca-Cola artist had created back in the 1920s. So yeah, Coca-Cola kidnapped Santa, and Coca-Cola has done so much more for Christmas. For example, what about the big, now has become a tradition, the big Christmas trucks? They come into your town at Christmas time and they're all painted up with fancy lights and stuff, and there's Christmas music and there's things for the kids, and it's a big caravan. You know how that started?
Man,
That's
coming
the,
to whose town?
is what?
They go into whose town?
They go into all over. The Coca-Cola, the big Coca-Cola semis, they'll be at the grocery stores and that, and they'll be painted up and they'll have lights on them. And that all started because some ad agency created one. It wasn't even a real truck. It was how they create this stuff on computer now. And it went over so well that Coca-Cola said, we should do that every year. And so they've been doing that for like about 10 years now. That is so big in England that the newspapers will publish the schedule. This is when the Coca-Cola truck is coming to town,
I want to know when the Coca-Cola truck is coming to town.
You got to talk to your local Coca-Cola distributor and say, when is that truck coming next December?
Oh, I'm about to research that for real.
Yeah, and the other thing about Christmas, Coca-Cola not only kidnapped Santa, so to speak, Coca-Cola saved Charlie Brown's Christmas. I'll bet you didn't know that. If it wouldn't have been for Coca-Cola, there wouldn't have been a Charlie Brown's Christmas. When the idea for Charlie Brown's Christmas came up, and they looked at it, the companies that produce this stuff for TV, and they said, I don't know. I don't think people are going to like this. And they couldn't get anybody to sponsor it, to pay for it. They said, no, this is a crazy bunch of kids, a bunch of cartoon kids with an old scraggly Christmas tree. It's a dumb idea. Coca-Cola said, no. It's a wonderful idea.
Wonderful idea.
Coca-Cola came up with the money to, quote, save Charlie Brown's Christmas. And ever since then, you got Coca-Cola to thank when you see Charlie Brown and his crazy Christmas tree.
Look, let me tell you, and I know, for all my audience members that don't like Coca-Cola, I apologize, but this is definitely one for me. They say think about your audience when you start asking people on. The minute I saw your name, I was like, well, this one is for me. This is my gift to me. I am just literally, I love the history of this. Just knowing about this drink that is just a part of my everyday life. It's blowing my mind. But I'm just thinking to myself, I cannot imagine a time where we won't have Coca-Cola. I just can't.
It won't happen. And Coca-Cola, in fact, it's funny we're talking today because, people that invest, and of course, Warren Buffett, he's the big guru, he has believed in, invested in, recommended Coca-Cola for years and years. And about 2 days ago, there was a thing on the internet, on the business news, that said Coca-Cola is about to announce their dividends for the quarter. It'll probably be good again. Well, it came out this week. Coca-Cola had a 17% increase, tremendous increase in dividends and in revenue. And they get that because they produce and promote a product that people like, and they stay in tune with what people like. They make an energy drink. How many years ago did they buy Minute Maid orange juice? It's
I have a refrigerator full of it in my refrigerator right now.
And it's a good. Coca-Cola as a corporation is a well-run, smart, intelligent marketing corporation.
And let me tell you something about that Minute Maid, because I wouldn't drink it because I don't like sweet, like stuff like that. And I thought it was just like a regular little juice or whatever that my daughter buys for the grandbabies. And a couple of days ago, I was eating breakfast and I said, well, I'm just going to drink this. We were out of orange juice. And I said, well, I'll just pour me a little bit. Let me tell you, I poured about this much in a cup, drank it in one go, and poured some more on it. No wonder we can't keep this stuff in the house. It is literally delicious. It is good. It is good. And I mean, I would love to just walk through a bottling plant. I would just love to see how they do it. I most definitely would.
Yeah, they're an amazing company, and they've brought so many different. Now, I'll bet where you are, I'll bet the next time you're in the dairy department, you look for a milk called Fairlife. Fairlife milk. They've got, the regular and the less, the 2% and so forth. Coca-Cola bought that company. And that's a Coca-Cola company now. Fairlife milk, and now they make a yogurt and all kinds of dairy products. But it's Coca-Cola originally a few years ago invested money in that company, and they saw what the company was doing and the way that they were treating the good. Why they call it Fairlife is because the dairy animals are treated fairly. So the product is Fairlife. And Coca-Cola was so impressed with it that ultimately they bought the whole company. So now if you buy Fairlife milk, it's a Coca-Cola company. A lot of people don't know that. They don't see it's not on the bottle or anything, but it's the truth. And again, when we're talking, Pat, about why Coca-Cola is going to be here forever, because they keep up with the trends. They have energy drinks. Yeah. They have, they just know what's going on. They just recently bought complete control of Powerade. The Power. Yeah, it's a competitor to Gatorade, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to happen in a couple of years. You're going to be watching a football game, and after the game, when they come up with the big jug of things,
Gatorade, it's going to say Powerade.
It won't be Gatorade; it'll be Powerade.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! This is for a history geek like me. This is just like I'm over the top. I really am, and I'm going to ask you to come back. I want to talk about return to the trail, to the Coca-Cola Trail. And
we'll tell you in that one why the Coca-Cola bottle was green.
Don't tell me now. Y'all got to wait for that. Don't tell me now.
No, that's what I say. It's in the second book, and we'll tell you the story when we come back. How's that?
Well, I am definitely going to send you, and I know you're about to get real busy because the book just dropped and whatever. So whenever it's convenient for you, come back and we're gonna delve back into that and talk about. Now my mouth is watering. I want to know. I promise you, I won't Google it. I'll wait until you tell me about it. Thank you so much for joining me on the porch. I'm gonna send you a link, guys. Audience, this is my early birthday present to me, to get to talk to Larry Jorgensen all about the Coca-Cola Trail, and I can't wait to have him back. And I know that you all can't wait to hear from him again. If you want to hear exclusive content, you're going to have to subscribe to Zippy Stream, my Porch Talk with Rev Pat on Zippy Stream, ZIPISTREAM, and you get to enjoy exclusive content. I'm not going to cheat you with Larry. I'm going to have him come back. Mr. Jorgensen is going to come back and join me on the porch again. So you'll get to hear part 2 and why the bottle is green. Y'all think about that until we get to that second part. As always, be blessed, my friends, and intentionally be a blessing to somebody else. Meet you right back here on the porch next week.